All right.
Oh, this shit looks different.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
We have to-
Oh, we're live.
We are.
Alright. Where's John?
I don't know, man. Oh no. What? Where is John? That's a very good question.
Wait, can you tell how many people are watching?
2 are watching now.
2.
Where? Okay, so let's try to get everybody in here as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'll try to text Canada.
Oh, for God's sake.
So,
Do we have the link for this? Yeah, we do. Okay.
Hello?
oh,
Hello. Do we have the whole group?
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
All right, John's here.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, are we on the? Are we live right now on?
We are live right now.
Okay.
All
Here's the
right.
thing. Okay, so I don't see where it is live on the page.
Okay, wait, you don't
No, I don't.
really?
I mean,
Okay.
if you see it live, then it is. But I just I'm on the channel.
I don't know why that's not showing up. That's very. Oh, God.
Wait,
I
how
don't
many
know.
viewers are showing?
Actually, you know what? Send us
5.
the link.
Yeah, send it to us. Send it to us.
Send the link of the live stream.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if I do though, what I would suggest is actually muting the stream because
Yeah. We don't want to.
yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
That's the link of the stream. I don't know. For me, it says that it's live. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it says live now.
So
Hey, we got 5 viewers.
let me mute that. Okay, sweet. Okay, yeah.
It says,
Is it just
it's working.
out of curiosity, what Jacob and Aaron, if you could, before we start, just take the link and put on your story or in your bio or something just to make sure we can get awesome.
I'll try. Wait, can you actually text it to Hangouts?
It's working.
Out of curiosity, what Jacob and Aaron,
Someone's live.
Yeah,
Someone's
someone is
live
echo.
Yeah.
Take the link and put on your story or in your bio or something.
Yeah, can you send a link on Hangouts?
Can you actually text it to Hangouts? It's working.
Hold on.
Yo, whose live is
Jacob, I think you need to turn off the sound on the link to the stream.
Pardon?
Put on your story or in your the
that's
stream you have open. Aaron.
Okay, could you? Okay, one at a time, please. What is,
Aaron,
what's
turn the
that
sound
noise?
off for the stream.
Jacob, I think you need to turn off the sound on the link to the
I can't hear you.
the stream you have open.
Your mic is screwed up. One at a time, please.
All right. I'm asking if you can send a link to Hangouts.
Okay, let's mute it. Okay, have the link. Your mic is. I'll put it in my bio.
But oh my god. Okay, you need to go to the stream.
Wait, this is delayed.
And then turn off the sound. Yeah, we don't want to hear that. It's like a 10-second delay. But go to it and then turn off the sound. So ow, that hurts. Okay.
Wait, this is
I'm on the stream and I turned off the sound.
Okay. We don't want to hear. Nope. Someone has it.
Well, I turned on the sound, so it's not me.
Yeah, no, it's Aaron. Thank
God.
Aaron.
It's good. We're good.
Wait, who's Aaron? Which one is right conservative?
That's Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
Nope,
What's up?
still on. Someone has it. We don't want to hear. Nope. Someone has it.
It's not me.
There, that's me. Me speaking.
Did I put the right link? Yeah, I typed in the right link.
All right, are we good?
I think so.
Okay, fantastic.
Everyone's here?
Yep.
Aaron?
Aaron.
Wait, what the hell's going on? You're telling me to mute it.
No, we meant mute the live stream, not your microphone.
The actual call.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This is a great start.
We don't want to mute the call.
Yeah.
Aaron.
Wait, what the hell's going on? You're telling me to mute it.
Oh god.
Okay.
No, we meant mute the live stream, not your microphone.
The actual call.
Yeah.
So there's two things right now. We have our live stream where we can hear each other, and then the live stream on YouTube. We want to mute the sound on YouTube because then we don't want to all hear that. We just want to mute that sound.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I get
That
it
way,
now. All right.
yeah, that way you can hear us, but you don't hear the echo from us.
Okay.
I think we're good now.
Yeah.
I hope we're good now.
All right, everything's working.
All right, everyone's here. We're all good.
So when are we gonna start?
Fantastic.
We can start now if you guys are ready.
Yeah, Asher, you can kind of
I'm.
divvy into it.
I guess
All
I'm
right.
ready.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's debate. My name is Asher. My name is Asher. I'll be your moderator and host for this debate, and it's truly my pleasure to welcome you all to the first ever political debate.
That's nice.
This,
Awesome.
this. Before we begin, I kind of want to actually explain the process and the format of the debate, since there are a lot of questions. So this is a 1 versus 1 debate with a moderator. One person will speak at a time, and basically it will be a back and forth dialogue consisting of interesting opinions and well-grounded facts.
Yeah.
So, now I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me talk any longer. So without any further ado, let's get into the debate. So joining me on the right wing today is Right Conservative.
Hey.
And on the left wing is Canada Against Trump.
Hi, I'm
also, just before we begin, just so you understand, I'm in here as another moderator to help out Asher with the debate. So that's why I'm going to be here. I'm not just like, tuning in. So just so you guys know, I'll be making the decision with him too at the end, based on who we think won the debate. So just, just so you guys are aware. So,
okay.
We are nonpartisan.
Somehow I doubt that, but okay.
We try to be as much as we can.
Everyone has a bias.
That's true. All right. Well, you were all to the audience. I'm gonna kind of read out the topics. You have all been asked to prepare well-grounded arguments and research deeply on the following topics: climate change, abortion, illegal immigration, and the path to citizenship, and the wall.
Yeah.
Muslim immigration and refugees, minimum wage, and taxes. Now, before we begin, I actually, if you guys are up for it, I want to give each of you guys 45 seconds to briefly introduce yourselves and your page. And if you guys could, reference your first name in that so that, I can call you by that, that'd be great.
Okay.
Right Conservative.
Right, we'll start with you.
Yes. All right. So my name is Aaron. I own Right_Conservative. It has a little over, I think, 41,000 followers. And yeah. I think that's about it.
All right. And we'll go to you, Canada.
All right. So I'm Jacob, and I have a little over 1,000. Just recently did a face reveal. I upload memes and sometimes statistics. Depends on. I just upload whatever I want. So yeah.
Yes, and if you guys go to my page, which is political.debaters, both of their Instagram pages will be tagged.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I'm just John. So.
Sup, John?
Hey.
Sup, guy with no profile picture.
All right.
Just the floating head, the blue floating head off of a torso with no arms.
And so to clarify for everybody that's watching, actually no, you know what? We can go right into it. So we'll start with climate change first, everybody. Question. We'll start with you, Right Conservative. I'm going to be asking both of you guys the same questions. You guys will have time to answer. There's not a speaking time, but John will be helping me in, helping flow the arguments and helping, making sure that we're getting through everything. So we'll start with you, Aaron. Is climate change real, and is the scientific evidence that backs it up relevant and causal? And if so, then to what degree?
Climate change is real. There is a constant change in temperature, in the Earth's temperature. Science backs up the fact that, some of human activity is causing it. And my take is that you shouldn't force private businesses to, you shouldn't force regulations on private businesses in order to reduce it. It's not drastic. I think it's very, there's too much fear in it. People like to use fear tactics to push these agendas, and I think that's wrong. And that's basically my take on it. Yes, it is real, but it is overhyped in a lot of ways.
Hyped.
All right, Jacob, you have the floor.
All right, so yes, I do believe that climate change is real, and recent warming has been due to human activity. Yes, the world has experienced changes in climate throughout its history that hasn't been caused by humans, but there's overwhelming scientific data that supports that recent changes has been because of humans. And it is a problem, and I do believe that there are some environmentalists that are overreacting, but I do believe many on the right that do say it's real are kind of underestimating the dangers of it and definitely should be addressed.
Okay, so both of you have mentioned that climate change has been kind of really overemphasized and exaggerated by a lot of environmentalists and scientists. So to
Not
what
scientists.
to environmentalists, sure.
Yeah, environmentalists.
So to what degree would you say that climate change is affecting the world? We'll start since we started with Aaron. We'll start with you, Jacob.
Oh, with me?
Yes.
Okay, so what degree is it affecting the world? So I know okay, I've read some data and about climate change, and scientists are saying that in like 100 or by 2100 that there's going to be parts of Asia and the Middle East that are going to be straight up uninhabitable, which is a serious issue for the inhabitants there and for here, because that would definitely cause a massive refugee crisis worse than today, and it could also the change in climate could science has shown that it's going to have a lot more increases in droughts, in severe storm, which could damage. Obviously, it would affect a lot of countries in Africa and Southeast Asia, and it would definitely affect the economy. Could potentially have massive inflation in food prices, and obviously, it is an issue that could lead to deaths, famine, and just horrible weather disasters. And I do have some data to support that.
All right. Well, Aaron, you have the floor.
Yeah. So it's a lot of the data, a lot of this prediction that, you know, in 50 years and 10 years, whatever, you know, we will suffer droughts, floodings, that kind of stuff. That's all been just a way to push the climate change agenda. A lot of that hasn't happened. Not that I have the data to back it up, but I know that, you know, a lot of the things that were predicted by environmentalists maybe 50 years ago, they didn't really happen. And we've been continuing our basic activities that were deemed very harmful to the climate, and yet these predictions, they didn't really come true. And yeah.
Okay.
Can I rebuttal?
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
so-
You can
so-
rebuttal.
Well, just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it isn't going to.
Okay, so I think this brings up a really important topic of the debate. So basically, we're in a crossroads between whether or not we think that the effects of the environment over the next 100 years are going to be catastrophic or not. So I want to direct this question at Jacob. So, you know, Aaron brings up the point that, you know, it may not be at the significant rate that you claim it may be, or that it may not actually be at any rate. So do you believe that a global, you know, how the world can have periods of global warming or global cooling? Do you think that this has any factor in this warming period that we may be seeing now, or do you think that it is strictly human based? Because do you think that could have any, you know, confounding variables in trying to figure that out?
Well, definitely definitely humans do have an effect on it, but I do assume that at least a portion of it is just natural, of course, but the scientific data is showing that recent warming has been because of humans.
Also, in between breaks, whether it be, unless Asher and I interrupt, Jacob and Aaron, you guys can just continue to refute each other. So you don't have to wait for us to talk.
You guys don't have to ask for permission to rebuttal. You guys can keep going back and forth.
Okay.
Okay. Can you repeat what you said, Jacob? Sorry.
So what I said is that definitely the climate does change because of natural causes, and maybe that's some of the warming could be natural or not. I'm not sure about that, but what I do know is that recent warming has definitely been caused by human activities, emission of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, and other greenhouse gases such as methane.
Right, and a small portion, well, actually, a big portion of that is just natural change, natural warming. For example, in the medieval times, I believe the temperature was much higher than it is right now. A lot of this is.
Do you have any graphs on that? Any statistics?
Unfortunately, I did not spend a lot of time researching.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get decorum.
But it's just the truth. It's out there.
Well, I would like to see a graph on that.
Okay, so I think we're
kind of stuck right now. Also, I'm pretty sure all of us has been in some kind of math. There's something known as an outlier in a graph data where some data is not the same as the rest. So we've all taken math of some kind.
course.
So,
well, yeah, I am guilty of.
Easily be an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't spend enough time researching climate change. I know. That's,
well, we have a bunch of different topics we're going to get to during today's, but that's fine. So let's move on because in both of your opening statements about climate change, you talked a little bit about corporations and different restrictions on whatever their activities may be. So in terms of environmental protectionism, whether it be globally or just domestically in the United States, or for Jacob, is it in Canada? I'll start with Aaron first because Jacob, you had the last word. Aaron,
okay.
What are your thoughts on the lengths that environmental protectionism can go so that it doesn't damage the corporations, but it of course retains our environment?
Right. Of course, I'm not for allowing these factories polluting our resources. I'm against all of that. I believe in those types of regulations. I think they are necessary, and I think that is as far as it should be taken. You shouldn't limit the basic resources of a developed country because we need cheap so a cheap way to create energy, and taking that away from a developed country would not be a good thing.
Jacob, you have a rebuttal?
Yeah. Okay. So solar panels have been decreasing for the past decade, and that's going to continue as they get widely more available, as the technology gets better. So many of these many.
Do you mean the cost of solar panels?
Yeah, the cost of solar panels have been going down.
Okay.
So yes, so renewable technology is right now still kind of expensive, but it's going down, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, so and definitely, so to prevent electricity prices from skyrocketing, we gotta incrementally move to renewable sources. I'm not saying, oh, today we close down all coal plants. Well, they actually have done that in Ontario, where I'm from, but in many places in the U.S. and other parts of Canada have still coal plants open. But what I mean is just, today we're not going to close down all coal plants or natural gas refineries or whatever and completely replace it with renewable energy. No, I'm just saying over the years we incrementally moved to that, so we don't have skyrockets in electricity cost.
Right. Well, yeah, I do believe that when there isn't a lot of government intervention in the energy sector, in the private energy sector, we will come up with we will gradually go into a more cleaner method of creating electricity. And yeah.
Okay, so both of you guys have mentioned corporations and how climate change can can actually prove to be a good business factor. But let's expand on that. So given this knowledge that climate change exists, and there is specific types of actions that we can take, what exactly do you think the government can do about it, or should the government actually intervene on this? So Aaron, you had the last word. We'll go with Jacob.
Okay, so one of the things I think we should do is implement a revenue neutral carbon tax. So all the revenue the government gets from the carbon tax will go through the form of a tax cut. So, because obviously if you put a carbon tax, it's going to increase the prices on goods, whether it's groceries or gas, etc., whatever, because obviously it's increasing the production cost. So, but if it's revenue neutral, then everyone will be getting will get a reduction in taxes, so they'll be able to handle that inflation, and it would bring up the price of gas and other fossil fuel related things. So that would incentivize people to go for a greener source, and it would reduce emissions, because I know in British Columbia they have a revenue neutral carbon tax, and greenhouse gas emissions have been going down there.
Well, yeah.
So I think that's one way.
Yeah, I mean that's a valid way to.
So I think it's a good way to protect the economy and the environment at the same time.
Yeah, and I agree that's a reasonable method of slowly turning into renewable ways of creating energy.
Yeah, and even conservatives support this. Many Reagan conservatives from the Reagan administration come out in support of this idea.
Well, a lot of people don't want to see, our planet becoming, polluted. And
Yeah, of course. That's why we should do it.
Okay. Sure.
Do you want to get all right? Well, this topic is slowly dying down, so we will move into a more.
Well, can I bring up some statistics on?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys,
how
sure.
horrible it could be. So, some of these are recent. So let me get.
So like to clarify, I guess if you guys have things to talk about, you guys can just keep going. You guys don't really have to wait for questions and stuff like that.
So here's an article from the Independent that titled "Extreme Weather Could Kill 150 People Each Year in Europe by the End of the Century," scientists say. So.
Okay.
So what's the?
So it's the.
Okay,
So this is coming from the Independent. They did an article on this.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a valid reason to try to reduce this, to prevent this from happening. It's a valid data to.
Yes, and also here's another article. It's from CNN, or are you going to call it fake news?
Well, they are fake news in a lot of ways.
Well, they're definitely fake news in the whole Trump and Russia bullshit. But
employees,
and they're obviously pretty biased in favor of Hillary Clinton over Trump, and definitely Bernie Sanders in the primaries. So definitely not that great of a news network, but. I think this is still valid. So weather disasters impact 2 out of 3 Europeans by 2100, study says, and it goes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move from the environment. We're gonna kind of flip the table from environmental factors. Let's go to immigration. This is obviously a very healthy topic that we can all talk about. So I know that the effects of immigration and illegal immigration. Just to clarify, in today's debate, we're going to be talking about illegal immigration in particular and the path to citizenship. So I'm going to start off. Sorry about that. I'm going to start off talking with Aaron about it because you are in the United States. Yeah. So basically, give your stance on illegal immigration, your thoughts on it, how maybe we can improve it, the effects of it, just your overall sight on the matter, and its impact, positive or negative, it has on the United States.
Right. I think that illegal immigration has a very negative impact on the jobs in the United States, on the wages, and that is due to the fact that a lot of illegals who do come here, and I mean the border, not by overstay visas, they work for very low wages that goes below the minimum wage, and because of that the wages are lowered and the jobs, and regular Americans, legal Americans, don't get those jobs, and because they're already taken by illegal immigrants. So that is
so wouldn't a simple solution be to have them on a path to citizenship? Should they have to at least make minimum wage?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
So wait, hold on. What's your position on deporting people?
No, I don't believe in deportation. I think we should build a wall to keep.
So you would say deporting 11 million undocumented immigrants is unrealistic?
It's not unrealistic. I just think it's wrong, and I think it's much better to grant them citizenship.
Now, I'm all for deporting any violent criminals that have been convicted and they're of illegal status, and deport them. But I've heard stories where some parents have been deported and their kids were left there in the U.S. So it's been pretty disastrous.
Oh yeah, that's awful. It's terrible.
Yeah. So
I'm against that.
So
I don't believe that's the right thing.
So to kind of guide debate, so the residing 11 million, as you brought up, Jacob, should the residing 11 million undocumented immigrants that reside in the United States, should they be punished in some sort of way, or what should we do about them? Should we be able
I don't think they should be punished, because the United States and many countries, that didn't really reside in Africa, were built on immigrants. So I don't really think deporting them is really moral at all. And I think it's better, and it saves the taxpayer money just to put them on a path to citizenship, unless of course they are violent in any ways.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't believe in deporting 11 million illegal immigrants. I think giving them citizenship would be
Like I would
better.
like to help them to be able to get citizenship, get them the chance,
Right.
prove themselves, and learn English and blah blah, or at least apply for a work visa.
Mhm. Yeah, but we should still do our best to prevent more illegal immigrants from coming in.
Well,
And
You know what?
okay.
That's actually that's
So I'd like to talk about the wall. So I'm pretty sure all of us are aware that Mexico isn't paying for it, and that the U.S.
no, of
taxpayers will
course
be.
not. It's not happening.
Yeah, and like the last time, like the last proposal was just a 20% tariff on Mexican imports, which would just raise the price of anything imported from Mexico to the U.S. So still, the American taxpayer will pay for it. That's what Trump initially wanted to do, but obviously, I don't think that's happening because of the
No, it's
outcry, and that would obviously be making the American people pay for it, and not Mexico. So. But the thing is, so the wall there's been a few numbers put out there from like 10 million or 10 billion to 25 billion to cost the wall. And then
Yeah,
I believe a few hundred million each year to maintain it.
Right. It costs much more than.
But the thing is,
President
I
Trump
don't.
likes to say.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think it's necessarily because I'm sorry, I don't have this with me, but I think there was a study that conducted that there's more people that are more undocumented immigrants that are actually leaving the U.S. and going back to Mexico because Mexico's economy is starting to do a lot better than it was a few years ago. So now they're kind of coming back to Mexico. And there's more coming back to Mexico than going to the U.S.
Right, but back to your point about the wall costing. What did you say? 10 to 25.
Yeah, 10 to 25 billion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, think of how much illegal immigrants cost the country. If you
that 100 billion factor has been debunked. I think it's like half of that.
So okay, so if you were now
but over time they would.
And
still
what is that? What does
more.
that cost mean exactly?
A lot of
do they cost?
A lot of illegal immigrants come here to,
To what?
A lot of them come here to seek opportunity. That's one thing. Others.
I don't know why that's necessarily a cost.
Okay, so before we continue,
hold on. It's they come here to get there are many illegal immigrants who receive benefits.
Well, none are federal because as you probably heard that Trump made a rule that was already there that illegal immigrants can't get welfare benefits. That's been there since the 90s. That was signed by Bill Clinton. So they can't get any benefits from the federal government. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that there are sanctuary cities that cities do give them benefits. But
before we move on, I just want to fact check this just to make sure, because now we're getting into the fiscal the different fiscal parts of this debate. So the Heritage Foundation in a 2013 report found that, so according to the Heritage Foundation, it's a think tank, it's about $54.5 billion a year. So the $99 billion statistic.
I said it was half. I said it was half of the 100 billion. So I think that's where I found that.
Okay, and also before we move on, debaters, please allow the other person to finish their point before interrupting.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, my fault.
No, that's fine. But just for future reference, it is important that everybody's voice gets heard.
Right. So,
of course.
So with that being said, that cited estimated cost, that the fiscal burden of illegal immigration on the United States being, like you said, just around 54 or $55 billion. I want Aaron to respond to this. Do you think that cost, in response to what Jacob said, do you think that $54 billion justifies that stricter border security in the wall? And short term or long term thoughts?
Yeah, I believe that it does justify, because over time, if we don't have the wall, more and more illegal immigrants will be coming from the southern border.
Well, but
it would be costing more and more. And if we do put the wall up, it would be, this cost wouldn't increase.
But there are more. But there are more immigrants leaving, more at least undocumented immigrants or illegal, whatever, that are leaving the U.S. and going to Mexico than they are coming in.
I don't know the statistics on that.
Because I don't have it with me, but I read that, or read a study on that. So I don't really see that a wall is necessary because of that. And that $54 billion. I'm like a lot of these sanctuary cities, all these cities are mostly Democrat, and a lot of the people in there obviously are paying taxes, and a lot of them are okay with the whole idea of benefits going to them. So it's kind of optional. It's voluntary in a way.
So you know what, Aaron, I'm actually gonna, Jacob, sorry, no, Aaron, do you have a point to make?
Well, yeah, he said it's voluntary. It's really not.
Well, it is, because a lot of cities are dominated by Democrats, which are okay with the whole welfare state, and
a lot of Democrats voted for Trump. I mean, they don't have to support every Democratic policy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I'm talking about major cities. Even
let Aaron finish. Let Aaron finish.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
No, I'm good. I finished. I just.
Okay. Well, so Jacob, this question is actually aimed towards you. So you have voiced your kind of opposement of the wall, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how do we stop newly illegal immigrants from coming into the United States, since, you know, obviously this is an issue that needs to be addressed?
Well, I don't really see it as much of an issue, though.
So
like maybe we should review the current border security process, but I don't mean an entire wall is necessary. Maybe we should update some of the areas with a better fence, but I just think a wall is overkill and a waste of taxpayer money.
So you think it's you know, completely okay and justified for illegal immigrants to be crossing the border and into the United States?
Well, as long as they're coming, like, as long as they're not really harming anyone, like, then I think it's maybe somewhat okay. But like I said, maybe we should review the current boarding process. But I don't think a wall is necessary.
But the thing is, you don't know who's coming in. You don't know if this person has a criminal record in Mexico and they come here and they can possibly harm Americans.
Which is why we allow them on a path to citizenship, so we can see if they do have a criminal record and then deport them.
Right, and that's why I support a wall, because they wouldn't be coming in.
But there's more leaving the U.S. than coming in.
Or if they don't, and so nobody is monitoring them.
So okay, so
the police, the local police is monitoring them.
Okay, so talking about what we have today in the United States with illegal immigrants currently, I'll start with, even though you're not from the United States, Jacob, I'll start with you. Based on your stance on deportation based on illegal immigrants currently in the United States, and whether their deportation, if at all, would depend on outside factors, for example, like a criminal record or a family. Okay,
so if they have a criminal record of violence, if we end up finding that, then I would, but they do have, if they do have a criminal record of any violence, then yeah, we should deport them. Or that they just commit any violent crimes, then yeah, we should deport them. But if that's not the case, then we should have no deportations and allow them on a path to citizenship.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. If the people who came here illegally, if they don't pose a threat to anyone living within the country, then by all means, like, give them pass the citizenship. But there are those who are violent and who do come here with a criminal record, and I believe that a wall would prevent more people from coming in.
Okay, so
Aaron actually brings up a very good point. And Jacob, I want to ask you this question. So Aaron mentioned that when illegal immigrations cross the border and into the United States, there's no guaranteed way in order to check if they are, if they have a criminal record or if they have a violent past in their history. In, let's say, for example, Mexico. And so you mentioned that the local police would be monitoring them. Do you really think that the local police would be preoccupied? It would be taking the time to run background checks on every single immigrant that they see or are known of, especially if they're illegal. They wouldn't even be in a governmental database.
The federal government can review of the 11 undocumented immigrants in the U.S. and if find any with any kind of criminal record, then deport them.
Right. Well, they can do that, but they don't exactly monitor.
The thing is, I would like to ask a question. So, as you know, Trump and I believe yourself are advocating for tax cuts.
Yes.
So, how do you find this wall?
I'm sorry. With the tax cuts, I'm advocating for removing unnecessary funding, just government spending, because if we
Like what?
Like what?
Well, actually, okay, this is getting to like the taxes topic. Let's stick to immigration.
So there are many government programs. I wish I had a list of them, but there are many government programs that don't need funding, that don't have to exist. They don't. There's the government just throws money on a lot of things, thinking they can fix, for example, the VA. I believe a couple of $1 billion were dropped on it, and it's still a complete failure. I think we need we got to reform the where the spending goes, and we have to do that before we lower the tax, so we don't have a deficit.
Okay, so this is a point that I think Jacob addressed very, very briefly. But you mentioned a fact about children being separated from their parents who immigrated into the United States illegally. So now I guess this is more of an ethical issue, and I'll let both of you guys speak on this. Should they have been separated? Should they have been deported together? And what solutions are viable or reasonable for situations like these maybe in the future?
Okay, so if they have committed no violent crimes, then they no member of the family should have been deported. But if perhaps one of the members have committed a violent crime, then we could deport them together then. So at least they are together. No.
So okay, I'll let Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you are going to deport their parents, it's to deport the whole family, because you can't leave orphans in one country. It just doesn't sound right.
Okay, so this is a question that I also want to address to both of you. You guys mentioned that both of you guys mentioned that if they're violent, if they have a criminal history, then they should be deported. Now, do you think that illegal immigrants should maybe be deported or have the threat of deportation roaming over their heads if let's say that they're unproductive in society, or they're not really doing anything?
No, because they're not really harming anyone at all. So I think it's just unnecessary to deport them if they're just doing nothing, and that's also at the expense of the taxpayer. So no, we shouldn't deport them if they're just lying around.
I believe, well, if they do start paying taxes, and they would be productive.
Yeah, speaking about that, I believe illegal immigrants pay about $13 billion in taxes each year, whether it's sales, property taxes, or whatever.
Yeah, but none of that comes from the income tax, because a lot of them work off the books, if not all of them.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Right. So
if we put them on a path to citizenship, then
I agree with that
as well.
Yeah. So Aaron brought up a really good point. So with that $13 billion,
I'm Jacob.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jake. No, Aaron brought up a good point. Yeah, that's what I said. Sorry.
But you said the 13 billion thing. That was mine.
No, I'm saying. Okay.
Part of the 13 billion.
Okay, listen.
How much of
that? Aaron brought up a good point. So Jacob, when you brought up the $13 billion statistic, could you give us a little bit more in depth on how the government acquires that each year from illegal immigrants, and how that figure makes up, proportionally how it makes up the total amount of income tax, or not income tax, but just tax overall by the United States from citizens?
And you know what? I actually want to follow up on that question. And it was also a point that Aaron brought up, or I think maybe it might have been a hole in a point that you brought up, Jacob. But you said that citizens would. Citizen or illegal immigrants should have a path to citizenship, but if they were not, if the threat of deportation was not over their heads, do you think that they would be motivated to in order to apply for citizenship when there is when there's no motivating factor, especially if through this they're able to avoid taxes?
That's actually a pretty good point. So maybe we could, I'm actually not sure about that.
Aaron, do you have any input?
Yeah, just repeat the question, please.
So I said basically in a nutshell, both of you guys have kind of lightly reflected on this, but if the threat of deportation, or maybe even any type of punishment, was not hanging over illegal immigrants' heads, do you think that they would be motivated in order to apply for citizenship, if especially they're able to avoid taxes by staying illegal?
Well, yeah, if you
actually,
if you encourage people to, well, not encourage, but kind of sort of blackmail them.
Okay, I actually thought of my response to that.
Actually, yeah, let Jacob go, I think.
Okay, so the benefit of being a citizenship is one, once you're 65, you're able to apply for Medicare. So that would be one thing. Also, Social Security, you can't get those benefits if you're undocumented or illegal, whatever. Also, Medicaid if you're very low income. So being a citizen, you'll be able to apply for that, and I assume a bunch of different benefits as well. So there are benefits of being a citizen.
Right, I think at the moment it's not that easy to get a path to citizenship for illegal immigrants. And I mean, I think they do want to become citizens. I mean, there are pros and cons to, being not a registered, citizen.
Right.
But the benefits that you do receive, like Jacob mentioned, when you're 60, you benefit
65.
from a lot of the 65, yeah.
Okay, so in regards to social programs, so U.S. programs, almost as a majority entirely, they cannot legally offer any aid or support, whether it be through food stamps, but there are programs like DAPA and DACA that help the children, and now with DAPA, the parents of illegal immigrants, through different social programs. So there's these companies that are kind of they're kind of getting around the U.S. legal system in order to provide this aid, and there is a financial burden on that. So, Jacob, how would you respond favorably or against these nonprofits that are going around the system in order to provide this assistance to these illegal immigrants?
Well, if they have no affiliation with the government, then they should be allowed to. But if they do have any affiliation with the government, then they shouldn't. That should be a benefit. Any federal or state, any federal funds shouldn't be going to undocumented immigrants at all. So we should make sure that don't get to them, so that we incentivize them to get a citizenship. But if they have no affiliation with the government, then they should feel free to.
And so I'll expand this to Aaron too. So what are your stance just on any programs and corporations in general that are exploiting U.S. law to help out, to be real, face value, it is going against U.S. law. So I'll ask Aaron this, and then Jacob, you can respond, whether it be with these DAPA, DACA programs for illegal immigrants, or any program that violates U.S. law. How do you feel about these? And do you think that even they have their advantages, or just how should we approach these as the U.S. government?
I don't think there should be any federal government programs to help illegal immigrants, because they don't exactly pay nearly as much taxes as the average American.
Of course.
It would, you just can't direct this. If illegals don't pay taxes, a large majority of the taxes, they shouldn't receive the benefits. And
okay, well, I think cities should be free to. Well, I think cities should be free to allow illegal immigrants to receive benefits, because they do pay a lot of local taxes, like sales taxes only go to cities and states, and property taxes is cities. So since they're paying those, then cities should be allowed to provide benefits to them, and but no federal funds should be going to them, only to help them get a citizenship, so they can start paying income tax.
Right, but the property tax, it goes to a very local. It's collected very locally. It goes to
local
education, the police, fire department, whatever.
Yes, so they should allow to have those services, since they pay those.
Right, but they shouldn't be allowed anything outside of their local town. Their.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I consider myself kind of somewhat moderate on immigration.
I mean, it depends on what's considered, extreme.
I just don't think any federal funding should be going to, let's say, services for undocumented immigrants.
Yeah.
but cities should be allowed to if they so wish, considering they are paying a lot of local taxes.
Okay.
So I would like to discuss Trump's travel ban.
Well, okay. Before we move on, is there anything else that Jacob, Aaron, you guys want to add on that topic of illegal immigration?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, thank you, Jacob, for helping us transition. On that note, we're now going to be talking about Donald Trump's proposed and implemented travel ban on 7 Muslim-majority countries.
6.
6.
It went down to 6.
Yeah, that was the revised travel ban. So in terms of, okay, I'll ask this. So, Jacob, you brought up the question. You get to answer first. So, do you think that Donald Trump's travel ban was a literal attempt in order to stop terrorism coming into the United States? Or do you believe that it was more of a hypothetical, more of a metaphor for more increased restrictions on not only, Islam, but the Middle East as a whole?
Okay, I think it was a mix between restrictions on just Islam in the Middle East as a whole. Actually, maybe not. Well, I think it was mostly just, kind of that and a political gain, because he kind of said we're going to restrict immigration from this country. So he did that because a lot of his supporters wanted that.
Right.
He can't do an actual full-on Muslim ban, so he would have to dumb it down to that.
I mean, yeah, and you can't exactly do a Muslim ban because you don't know who is Muslim.
And it would be shot down by Congress, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I think this travel ban.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's reasonable. Yeah, it's. I mean, I think the list of the countries. I think it was made by the Obama administration, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, the thing is, the list of the countries doesn't really make any sense because, for one, here's the fact: you are more likely to be killed by your clothes than an immigrant-linked terrorist from those nations. So, for example, the annual average deaths for clothes melting or igniting is 3.3 out of a million, and for immigrant-linked terrorism, it's 2.78 out of a million in the source. So that first one about the clothes comes from the CDC, and the second one comes from CAT or TO/Alex, whatever.
So, both of you guys have kind of been saying, that a total immigration ban is completely out of order, right? And that it's unnecessary and it won't work, right? So,
well, I just think it's unnecessary,
right? So, so there's been a lot of talk, especially over in the Republican debates, about not necessarily an immigration ban, but an immigration restriction in terms of letting only a certain amount of refugees come into the country at once at a given point. So do either of you guys, was it Jacob? You had the last word, so I'll direct this to Aaron first. Aaron, are you in support of a restriction, or are you in support of anything else taking the spot of a restriction in order to filter out, maybe the threats from legitimate immigrants?
Right. You were talking about Islamic refugees from.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that refugees from those countries, they shouldn't exactly be allowed to come in, because statistically, a lot of these migrants, when they migrated to Europe, for example, in Sweden, their rape statistics have increased, their crime.
The thing is, Sweden, they didn't really have much of a vetting process, nor did Germany. But the U.S., they have a much more stricter vetting process.
Okay, so that's actually something that I'm going to get into later on. But Aaron, I don't think you finished your point.
Well, yeah, as I was saying that, when these European countries, when they did accept a lot of refugees, you've seen there have been a lot of terrorist attacks, for example, in 2015 in France, and in Belgium, and it all happened after the migration.
I do think that Europe was nowhere near strict enough on the refugee crisis. I think they could have handled it much better, like the U.S. did.
Well, yeah.
All right. So, how does the United States, Jacob, in your opinion, how do you think the United States and Europe have differed in their immigration policies, and how has this led to difference in terrorist attacks or just terrorist
Okay,
activity as a whole?
so for example, the U.S. Has brought in a total of 10,000 refugees, and when compared to Germany, which has a less population, they brought in over 1 million. So that's one thing.
Yeah, and these refugees are actually costing these countries a lot.
And I know for a fact that I'm pretty sure Germany didn't have any vetting process at all.
Yeah.
Sweden, I'm not positive on that, but they definitely weren't strict enough.
Yeah.
So this is something that both of you guys touched upon in terms of like the Obama administration making a list of countries that may pose as threats. So instead of making a full out religion based immigration ban, do you think that we can make it a more specific type of filtering process in order to be potentially more efficient? And it was Jacob that brought up this point that this list is flawed, and that it doesn't.
I have a number 6 on that. That there's been 0 deaths in U.S. terrorist attacks from immigrants from the banned nations in the past 40 years. So from the 6 banned nations, there hasn't been a single death linked to a terrorist attack from those 6 nations.
Okay, so Jacob, you did have the last word earlier, so I want to direct this to Aaron first. And so, Aaron, do you think that there's a process that's much more efficient and effective rather than a full-out religion-based immigration ban?
Well, right, I do believe that we should stop immigration coming in from these possible these countries that pose a threat, and until we do get a vetting process that works and that only brings in people who actually would do some benefit to the country and don't just come here as, I mean, it sounds extreme, but as kind of economic parasites, because they do use up a lot of the country's resources and economic resources, the taxes. For example, the sanctuary cities, there are many communities in Europe, in Germany. They set up tents for these refugees, and they are costing people a lot of money. It takes a lot of money to patrol these places. I actually saw.
Well, those countries chose to do that.
Well, actually, a lot of Europeans were against this migration. They didn't exactly.
Yeah.
They just did.
I have heard from Europeans saying that they took in way too many.
All right, so talking about European migration, so just as a prerequisite, Asher and I both do high school debate, so we are very read up on these topics, and we can talk about it. One of the biggest things that we have found, in that politics in general have found, is that a big problem with maybe the importation of whether it be immigrants or refugees is that not maybe the vetting process in particular, but the actual infrastructure of these countries taking them in. For example, in Germany and Turkey, they have these major issues accommodating these refugees. So I will phrase the question to Jacob. In the hypothetical situation, whether it be the United States or Canada taking in, a mass amount of refugees, how do you think that demand for infrastructure can be met so that we don't see these disasters like in Germany and Turkey, where there's high levels of rape and different sexual assaults and high levels of unemployment and just these very negative factors that are just being detrimental instead of positively integrating these individuals?
So I think I know what we can do about that. I think we should only bring in families with children. So that should really limit any rape, and it could incentivize the parents to go find jobs to provide for children, because obviously the government isn't going to get them that much to survive. So that should fix the whole issue by just bringing in those group of people, and also not bring in like 1 million people like in Germany, but bring in much less. In Canada, we brought in about 25,000.
Yeah, and you should bring in families.
I want to support bringing in families with children. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, just bringing in
parents would end up getting a job to provide for the children and themselves, and and there shouldn't be much rape. Definitely not from children or the wife.
Yeah, and
probably not the husband either.
Yeah, a lot of these pictures you've seen of the migrants, almost all of them were just men. There weren't really a lot of women or children, whatever. And I think when you let millions of these people in, it doesn't really do the economy any good. It doesn't. It only increases crime.
Yeah. We're kind of on this on the same topic, or in a similar topic, I suppose. But this is kind of adding on to the question that John asked earlier. What vetting procedures could the government establish in order to ensure the maximum safety if hypothetically the government were to accept refugees and Muslim immigrants? Aaron, you had the last word. Jacob, the question is phrased to you.
Vetting process.
Well, obviously, I mean, it's a very detailed topic, but just briefly.
Like well, maybe they can go through question them about maybe their intents.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that and maybe get professionals and lie detectors or whatever to make sure that they don't mean any harm to anyone. So that could be one. And I'm sure there's a million and one things that they do currently or that they could potentially do, but
yeah, I would say
no.
Yeah, I would say check that whoever's coming in, they're not linked to any terrorist organizations.
Of course.
And that they come with a family, and that I think that's
I agree with that.
So, talking about, and Aaron, what you said, talking about that, one of the biggest things that the United States and whatever country they have trouble with is that because of the Syrian civil conflict, a lot of government documents that we would usually be able to obtain from a country, because of this, continuous civil war, we aren't able to obtain these documents that show, who these people are, their history in the country. So how do you think that, if at all, how do you think that we can get around it so that although we can accept these individuals, I mean, we know who they are, especially since processes now leave that open for debate?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Hold on, I'm eating ice cream.
Oh my God, it's already 8 p.m. We've been doing immigration for an hour.
Oh, wow.
All right, so this will be the final question. It'll be for Aaron and Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the documents that would usually be used to immigrate someone from one country to another have been destroyed or are not accessible because of the civil war. I'm speaking particularly about Syria. So with that being said, how do you think what is the best way that we can identify these individuals so that we don't have ISIS and different terrorist organizations, infiltrating our immigration system?
Okay, so what I think we should do is make sure that they have absolutely no firearms with them. Make sure we have them, we see them face to face and we question them. Make sure they're not lying from whatever method. Make sure we know their intent. Make sure they're a family, etc. So that's how I think we can prevent having any ISIS members infiltrating. Because, like I said, from many of the countries on Trump's travel ban, we have seen no terrorist-linked individual coming from there in the past 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. As I said, I think it's important that you just allow families in, and like Jacob said, make sure they don't have any firearms or knives with them. And I think that's a fair evaluation.
Are we done with this topic?
Yeah, let's venture off from this topic since I think we did cover most of it. So let's move into abortion.
Oh, great.
So this is a lively one.
So
obviously, politics aside, this is much more of an ethical issue.
Yeah.
A moral issue, let's say. So the question that I want to start off with, to establish, firm positions, to both of you guys is the fetus a human being? And if not, at what point is it safe to call it a human? Aaron, you spoke last, so Jacob, we will start with you.
Okay, so so looking at science, technically, at conception is where life does begin. So, I'm not what is the exact definition of a human being? exactly? Is it at birth? Is it conception? Like, it is life, but should we consider it a human being? Though, so the thing, because that's really all I got.
So basically, you know, it's like, so you're saying it's you know,
It is life.
at that point in their lives, when, you know, they're still, you know, residing around the room, you're saying that there's more of an uncertainty about, you know, of establishing whether that fetus should be considered a human.
It really depends on the definition of a person. Like, is a person someone who can survive outside of the womb? Is it someone who is out just straight up outside of the womb? Like, it depends on the definition of human.
You know, that's fair enough. I think for the means of today's debate, we can define a human being as someone who has physical senses. So whether it be I can think, or whether that mean I can feel or hear or feel pain.
Well, okay, so I know.
Senses.
Okay, so through fetal development, I know fetus, they don't have the ability to hear until at least 18 weeks, and then as they go into more of 20, they start being more like, by, I think, what was it? I don't know. I'm trying to remember the thing I looked at. I might have it here. No, I don't have it here.
Rough statistic is fine.
So can I just say something?
Yeah, let's let Aaron say something.
All right.
I mean, I don't think that the definition of a human is in any way subjective. I mean, the definition of a human fetus is a human baby, like, you know. And
well, the definition of a baby is someone who's been born.
Right. Well, Aaron, continue.
Well, no, it's a human baby. It's not someone who has been born.
So I do remember reading the definition of a living organism from a medical book, and I do believe that it if we want to agree on this definition, obviously I think this in itself is also a very controversial issue in terms of what is defined as a human being, what is defined as living, etc.
I do, yeah. A human fetus is, human fetus is definitely a living thing. That is a fact.
Right. So the definition that I did read is that you know, life begins at conception.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I never denied that.
You're gonna deny that?
What?
You said you're gonna deny that?
I said I never denied that.
Okay. Okay. Well, is that a definition that we can agree on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, obviously, you know, through precedent, we know that the pro-choice agreement argument won in the Supreme Court in terms of Roe versus Wade. And so, you know, let's venture off. We can come back to the moral, you know, topics of it later on. But one thing that I want to get at is, should the government be supporting abortion efforts as it is right now in the form of Medicaid and Medicare, or should it be more of an individual, maybe private sector thing?
Well, I'd like to say something. The Hyde Amendment prohibits any federal funds from going to abortion, with a couple exceptions. So the federal government isn't really promoting any of that.
Yeah, I believe.
Okay. Well, so
I believe some states are, though, but not the federal government.
Yeah. So Medicaid in some states are funding abortion.
Medicaid is a state thing. It's a state thing.
So
they're funding it if it's a case of rape or incest.
Yeah, the Hyde Amendment allows for that, but for any federal funds. But if it's not that, then no federal funds can go to it. So all the funding goes to Planned Parenthood. None of it goes to abortion.
So kind of transitioning into you know, Planned Parenthood and, you know, U.S. funding for it. This is a question for, Aaron first. So with that funding, because with Planned Parenthood, you know, a majority of Planned Parenthoods, their profit comes from abortions. It's not just, you know, prenatal care and stuff like that. It's 52% of their profit actually comes from abortions. Do you think that because the argument
they don't make a profit, though, all the funding that they do.
So
they're a non-profit organization.
No. So Planned Parenthood makes hundreds of millions of dollars of profit a year. That's based on their fiscal reports. What? So I'll pass this off to Aaron to first answer. Do you think, you know, in terms of Planned Parenthood, that because they are profit positive in the hundreds of millions, that they should be able to receive this funding nationally?
Yeah, no, I don't believe that Planned Parenthood should be receiving this funding. There are many health clinics across the United States that do what Planned Parenthood does that doesn't include abortion. But Planned Parenthood is the #1 abortion provider in the country, and that is why they shouldn't receive funding from any type of funding.
Well, the problem with that is that your point is that no federal funds actually goes to abortion. Like all the funds that Planned Parenthood gets from the federal government goes to many other things, such as STI tests, cancer screenings, treatment, blah blah blah.
Oh, well, I think his point. I think his point was that the backbone of Planned Parenthood is based off of the backs of taxpayers. I think is what he was saying.
Okay, so I just want to interject this. I'm gonna stop moderating now. I'm gonna pass it off to Asher. What I'm just gonna be doing for now on is fact checking both of you because I do want this to be a factual argument. So Jacob, what you did say, Planned Parenthood only covers prenatal screenings, STIs like you said, birth control, abortions, but they do not cover any cancer treatments, any mammograms. They don't cover any of that. So it's based purely on sexual health, STIs, prenatal, pregnancy, birth, stuff like that. Just for the record, I do believe Jacob, you have the floor.
Wait, what's the question?
No, I just wanted to fact check that. I'm not moderating anymore. Asher.
Okay, Asher, take the floor.
So you guys can continue on the argument. The discussion that you guys were involved in, I believe it was on the basis of whether Planned Parenthood should be funded or not.
Yeah, I don't believe they should be funded because a large majority, well, I wouldn't say a majority, but a very large number of Americans are pro-life, and
not actually.
A big number of them would not want to
I've shown that a slight majority of Americans are pro-choice.
They wouldn't want to fund
one at a time, please. One at a time.
So the majority of
Aaron,
a large number of Americans are pro-life. They wouldn't want their tax dollars going to organizations that do.
Yeah, but none of the tax dollars themselves actually goes to abortions.
No, but it goes to the organization.
Yeah, but they do. That's for other things, not abortions.
That a day, people don't want their the funding going to those corporate organizations. There are many health clinics. As I said, there are many health clinics all across the United States, and that provide all the services that Planned Parenthood does, aside from abortion, and a lot of them do receive federal funding. So that is why Planned Parenthood shouldn't receive funding.
Well, that doesn't really make any sense.
It doesn't,
because the tax dollars themselves don't go to abortion. They go to other.
Okay, no, but I think his point.
They go for the employee. Yeah.
His point, I think, is that a good majority, I think it was 52%, as John pointed out, 52% of the funding, 52% of the funding that Planned Parenthood receives actually goes into abortions.
Well, none of that's from federal. Could be from
it's from taxpayer money.
What? I thought the Hyde Amendment prohibits that.
Planned Parenthood?
The Hyde Amendment prohibits any federal funds from going to abortion. How is that a thing?
Right. So I think what Asher was trying to say is that 52% of the 52% of Planned Parenthood's profits are based on abortion treatments.
Gotcha.
And he was saying that that may contribute because although their funding doesn't go towards abortions, as you cited on why it cannot be done legally, it raised up the argument, and I'm just going to try to transition into this. Do you believe that the taxpayer...
I don't understand how Planned Parenthood could be making any profits when it's a non-profit organization.
Okay, so their 2013 report shows that it's up on my screen right now from their website. It says that in 2013, Planned Parenthood made $132 million in profit based on their procedures, which means that they are profit positive and they can sustain themselves. So with this debate, if they are profit
that's
positive,
not true because
should they be able to receive federal funding even though they are profit positive?
Well,
Aaron.
No, they shouldn't receive any federal funding because they have abortion services. It doesn't exactly matter that the funding does or doesn't go directly for abortions, but the organization itself, it's the leading abortion provider in the country, in the United States. So there shouldn't be any federal funding going toward them because, as I said, there are many health clinics across the United States that do have the same procedure, that do have the same service as Planned Parenthood that doesn't include abortion.
So what would you like? So you would like to see is that all the Planned Parenthood funding just to be going to medical clinics?
What?
You would like to see all the funding that currently goes to Planned Parenthood to go to medical clinics?
Well, I don't think Planned Parenthood should be getting any funding.
So you would move that funding to just medical clinics that have nothing to do with Planned Parenthood?
To medical clinics that don't do abortion,
Yeah.
don't have abortion services.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else to add on the abortion?
Okay. Well,
I just wanted to say that, like, for example, when we were talking about the fetus, whether it's a human or not, or whether it should be considered a human, I have some development.
Let me just go back to Planned Parenthood for a second.
All right, sure.
Well, hold on.
3% of what they do is abortion.
Let's let Aaron finish what he said.
All right, so 80% of abortions happen in the first trimester, that is before the 12th week, right? So
yeah, I think so.
Up to in 3 to 5 weeks, the fetus already has a heartbeat, and then at 6 weeks, the brain waves are detected, and that's from the newhealthguide.org. It's not pro-life.org or whatever. And then at week 8, the fetus already has all the organs intact, and like it's already developed hearing. And I believe you said that.
No, that's not true. It's by week 18.
No, week 8.
No, week 18. That's what I read.
No, I read from this website. You can go.
I can reference mine. Just
John can. John, if you want to try to fact check it, I don't know.
Okay, according to this headline website, it says baby starts to hear sound at 18 weeks of pregnancy.
Hear sound. That's different from developing hearing.
Yeah, but so they can't actually hear until 18 weeks.
Right, but I said develop hearing. I didn't say hear sound.
Yeah, but hearing sound is when they can actually
I am fact checking this. And so it does say at 9 weeks of pregnancy, the indentations appear where the baby's ears will grow.
Yeah.
But it also does say that at 18 weeks of pregnancy, that the baby will start to hear sound.
Yeah, I think I'm reading the same website. So by 18 weeks is when it can actually be able to hear sound.
Yeah. I've claimed that it develops hearing. I never said
that's just developing. It's not complete.
So let's finish up the abortion topic, and we'll finish up with this simple question.
Okay.
One of the biggest arguments for being pro-life or pro-choice is that if someone has a heart attack or if something happens to them, the first thing paramedics do is check their pulse. And people believe that because the sign of a heartbeat shows death, that means that the sign of a heartbeat shows life. Therefore, you should not abort a fetus after the 18 days or so that has a heartbeat. With that being said, I will go to Jacob, you first, to finish up the topic. What do you think about that?
Well, the thing is, now for one, fetuses, they cannot feel pain until at least until at the end of the second how do you pronounce it? The second of the, what was it called? Trimester. And so by the end of that, which is 27 weeks, they cannot feel any pain at all. Their nervous system has not developed enough to be able to feel any kind of pain. My source is ACOG.
All right, so a fetus develops.
UOP has passed along, like you in Utah, about where at 20 weeks, anyone getting an abortion has to have painkillers for the fetus, and doctors were complaining about, well, it can't feel pain until 27 weeks. So that doesn't make any sense.
So 11 to 12 weeks, that's when a fetus develops nerves, and then when there are nerves, that means the baby can feel.
Well, from what I've read, they can't. Those are just nerves. Yeah, they are connected to the brain, but the brain itself cannot actually feel any pain until 27 weeks.
Okay.
And I sourced it.
Okay. Let's move on to our next topic. Asher, if you'd like to do the honors.
All right. So if everybody's exhausted what they'd like to say on abortion, we will move into minimum wage and taxes. All right. So I believe Jacob, you were the last to speak, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll direct this question to Aaron. but both of you guys will get a chance to answer this. Should there be a minimum wage established federally?
There should be a minimum wage established. Yeah. Yeah, I do believe there should be a minimum wage.
Okay, I agree with that, but I assume I advocate for a higher one.
Oh no, I don't believe in a higher minimum wage because that would cause a very high decrease in jobs. And
well, I have a study here. So okay, so in 1992, there were two economists, and they surveyed between the boards of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. New Jersey rates its minimum wage from $4.25 to $5.05. And then Pennsylvania kept it the same at $4.25.
Okay.
Employment in
actually
increased.
Okay. Well, so Jacob, I want to aim this question to you. Then, so Seattle is actually a prime example of a city that raised its minimum wage, and it proved that it did not help. And in fact, it actually, like Jacob said, it ruined it. There was a loss of jobs, and there was also inflation occurring in the city. So, so what do you have anything else to kind of back up the fact that minimum wage would increasing the minimum wage would actually prove to be a better?
I do believe that there definitely is a point where you're increasing minimum wage that's too high, and I think that is the case in Seattle, where currently it's too high. It's like $13 right now. I do think that is too high, and they did it too fast as well. So I think that increase in minimum wage should be a smaller increase, and that it should be and they should make it flexible for businesses and also provide relief to smaller businesses.
Well, with that though, and how would I guess increasing it slowly, like you said, prevent inflation from occurring, or let's say job?
Well, there would likely be some modest inflation, but overall but overall it should benefit workers, because if you're going to raise the pay of a worker, they're definitely going to spend that earnings, which could benefit, they're going to spend that earnings, which could result in more business profits, which could end up in the creation of more jobs. Maybe not overall, but it could prevent job losses or hours cut, etc.
So, I mean, my take on it is that when you do increase the minimum wage, it becomes much harder for small businesses to keep their employees, and that would result in a decrease in jobs, and
these workers are definitely going to spend more money at all these businesses, including small ones, which could end up helping them also. I would say to provide relief to small businesses, because I do believe that it would disproportionately affect them the most. So maybe we can have some tax decreases for them.
Yeah. And so if they don't lay off their employees, they would have to increase the prices of whatever it is they're selling.
Oh yeah, so I do think there would
gradually it would the prices would simply just go up to a higher standard, and that is it. If you've ever been to Seattle,
well, I do think Seattle probably has raised the minimum wage too high without giving relief for small businesses, without giving them enough time to adjust.
Well, we're using that as let Aaron finish his point.
Yeah. So if you ever go to Seattle, everything it costs a lot more there than.
Well, it was a pretty expensive city before, also.
I mean, I would say, when you do increase the minimum wage, it's inevitable that, the prices for.
Well, yeah, but by how much? Is it like what, 5 cents, 8 cents?
No, not 5 cents. Not 8 cents. It's a lot more than that, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know what the prices were before they raised the minimum wage. But
well, I mean, I think that also that's affected by a variety of factors. So I don't think it's very fair to judge that on solely the minimum wage. But
right, but the businesses, they have to afford their employees, and when they can't, they have to
Well, yeah. So that's correct. So I want to direct this question at you, Jacob, because you have said that increasing a minimum wage might end up
increase economic activity.
Yes. So this is an article by Times. I'm reading off this right now. It says over long periods of times, employers facing such high wages might turn to automation, say using robots in fast food restaurants or coffee shops more quickly than they would otherwise would. So now obviously time we can agree that it is a reliable source, and there are probably economic economists that have contributed into making this article. So do you think that so do you think that steadily increasing the minimum wage would prevent this from happening? Do you think that corporations would not turn to automation?
The thing is, no matter what, corporations are going to turn to automation. Like at the movie theater and McDonald's, they're already turning to automation without a minimum wage increase. A Harvard study showed that, what was in the next 20 years or so, that
my point is,
and 43% of jobs are at risk due to automation. What I'm saying is that it's inevitable, and that's going to happen no matter what the minimum wage is.
Well, right. So my point is, the point is that I was trying to ask in the question is that increasing minimum wage proves that hypothetically proves that corporations are going to be much, much, much more driven to turn to automation than they were previously. So do you think that necessarily there are solutions or ways that government or businesses and corporations could adapt to this without going to automation?
Well, for one, I would suggest for smaller businesses to have a tax cut for them, and also having it incrementally be increased by, let's say, like 50 or like 75 cents. So I don't know, just incrementally increase it over like the course of a few years to let them adjust to it. And I don't think they would. I think it would hardly have an effect on automation, though. I just think that's something that would happen no matter what, because it's been happening for over 100 years.
That's fair.
So if bringing this question to Aaron, so if technological innovation is inevitable, how does that affect our raising or lowering of the minimum wage?
Well, I don't think it would necessarily affect the raising or the lowering of the minimum wage, but it would definitely decrease job growth. But it's important to know that automation, it does cost a lot of money, and buy into automation, they would see it as it would be a lot cheaper to hire workers than to install a computer in front of their desk.
So this is something that both of you guys talked about very lightly before, but so in terms of inflation rates, do you think that the minimum wage should be based and judged off of maybe either proportionally or somewhat related to the inflation rates of the economy? And do you think that it should be really adjustable as to how inflation ends up playing out in the economy? Or do you think that we should have a set amount and we should stick to that? So Aaron, you have the floor last. Jacob, you have the floor.
Yes, I think it should. I don't think we should have inflation be eating up the minimum wage at all. I think workers at least deserve to have the minimum wage to be tied to inflation. I think it's only fair.
Well, I think we should just leave the minimum wage as it is right now. Just drastically changing it wouldn't exactly be beneficial at the moment.
So, this is becoming a little bit of a still topic. So, I do kind of want to revisit a topic that that we talked about earlier in terms of illegal immigrants. In terms of like illegal immigrants and minimum wage. So, do you think? So this kind of ties into both topics that we've talked about. So, do you think it is ethical for illegal immigrants to be making less money than the established minimum wage, or do you think that they should be treated fairly and equally and be making let's say like a hypothetical of what everybody else would be making? Jacob, will go with you.
Well, I just think they should. Yeah, I think they should be paid equally, at least at the minimum wage. Obviously, you got to pass the citizenship so they can make the minimum wage.
Okay, Aaron.
Yeah, they should be paid the same, but they're not exactly protected by the law, so there's no way to ensure that. So it would be better to give them work visas and.
Right. So, just as a kind of an ethical law, do you think that they should be, making the same amount of money than let's say, legalized immigrants or U.S. citizens? Especially if legal immigrants are, have the ability to avoid taxes.
Right. Well, yeah, a lot of illegal immigrants do work off the books, and because of that, they do receive lower wages. They are exempt from taxes because there isn't really anything that's monitoring them.
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of lean off of the topic of minimum wage a little bit and go more deeper into taxes in the United States. So, Aaron, you spoke last. Jacob, we'll start. This question is directed towards you. Aaron, you will have a chance to follow up afterwards. But what is a reasonable tax plan in your opinion for citizens in the United States? So we're talking tax brackets, and all that. So Jacob, you have the floor.
So okay, I think we should be increasing taxes for the wealthiest Americans, mainly because of the issue of income inequality. For example, 20% of the nation's, at least in the United States, income goes to the top 1%. So I think it's a good idea to increase tax on the wealthy, so we can pay for public services that would benefit the poor and middle class.
Yeah, so I believe that there should be a 10% flat tax, with exceptions to families with children and whatnot. And the reason I think that is because, so I'm taking this from the 2011 federal income tax from the IRS. So the top 10%, they earn 46% of the share of the federal income tax, and then they pay 68% of it. And then the top 1%, they get 19% of the income share while paying 35% of it. So that is not exactly a fair system, because you're still paying for the exact same benefits. And I think that a 10% flat tax would be fair. Well, for the bottom 50%, actually, so they earn 12% of the share of all of the federal income tax, but they only pay 3% of it.
So okay, so I have a question about this is for Jacob and Aaron, and I'll give it to Jacob first, because you talked about it. You brought up increased tax on the wealthier, and proponents of lower taxes may say that increased taxes, especially for business owners, may damage their businesses and their growth. So how would you respond to that?
Well, for one, okay, so most of the jobs are coming out of smaller businesses, not big corporations. I do have something on that. Let me just find it. Just give me a sec to locate it. I think I did post this on Instagram.
No, that's common knowledge. I do believe that small businesses dominate the business sector.
64% of net new jobs over the last 2 decades are generated from small businesses.
Do you have well, I don't have the statistic on. Actually, no, hold on. I do have the statistic on me. So this statistic, I'm sorry, that was bad. So the Brookings Institute, in a 2015 report on small business, found that the average small business owner, if they've had their business for a minimum 10 years, they make about $800,000. So would that fall in that 1% tax bracket?
$800,000 a year. Well, yeah, probably, but
yes, actually. So, kind of adding on to that,
well, that's just personal income, but I wouldn't actually have a tax on like this, a corporate tax on this actual small, on the actual small business itself.
No. So, what is it? John actually brings up a point. Is that so basically what happens for businesses is that if you make over, so we're talking about revenue here. If you generate a revenue of over $450,000, you are taxed at the highest taxable income bracket, which is 35.9%. And John did mention a statistics from the Brookings Institute that what was it? 80% make over or a good amount of businesses make over $800,000 a year. So do you think that do you think that there needs to be some action in terms of helping small businesses, since they are the backbone of the government or of the business sector in the economy?
Well, wait, is this directly to me or?
In general, I mean, you can respond first if you'd like.
Okay, so small business taxes work like corporate tax.
Correct. Well, it depends. Assuming that they are taxed at the LLC and the S.
All right. Now, I think we should have lower tax rates for them, but for the actual business owner, not necessarily. Depends what, like if what you say is true about them, or 80% make over 800 billion, or have $800,000 a year, then well, they're definitely in the top 1%. So yeah, I would say they should be.
We're talking business revenue, we're talking business revenue, not necessarily individual income.
Well, yeah, for the business, for small business profits should be taxed on a lower rate.
Okay. Aaron, your stance on it?
On
whether on the tax rate for businesses. So basically, John mentioned a statistic from the Brookings Institute that a good majority of the businesses generate a revenue of $800,000 per year. And the way the tax system is set up right now is that if a corporation, and we're talking about C corporations and pass-through entities, if they generate more than $400,000 a year in terms of revenue as a corporation, they're taxed at the highest taxable bracket, which is 39.6%. So do you think that that the government should take action in terms of reducing taxes for these small businesses, since they obviously this is a common complaint of small businesses is that they already struggle in the economy. So do you think? Yes.
Yeah, I think we should lower taxes for small businesses because they do make up most of the jobs in the United States. Yeah, I don't think it's fair that they have to pay into so much of so much taxes while providing so many jobs. I think they should be relieved of.
I mean, because effectively they are. I mean, effectively how it does work is that these small businesses are being taxed at the same rates that let's say, for example, like Walmart is paying.
That is absurd.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I don't think they should be taxed the same way that.
They should be taxed at a much lower rate.
Right. So I guess this is a perfect opportunity for me to ask this question. Do you think that So Aaron, I'm going to aim this question at you, and then Jacob, you can follow up later. So Aaron, you mentioned that a flat tax rate for citizens is a viable economic option to maximize growth. So let's maybe transition that philosophy into corporations. Do you think that having a flat tax rate for corporations is a good idea, or do you think, or do you have any input as to how high should corporations and businesses be taxed through their tax bracket?
I haven't really thought too much about it. I've only really looked at the citizens and how much taxes they're paying.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, logically, I think big corporations, they should be taxed more,
Right.
a lot more than small businesses, but not be taxed way too much. The taxes should be lowered in general, but they should not be taxed less. They shouldn't be taxed the same way that a small business would be.
So hold on, can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
Why for businesses, the more profits you make, the more tax you pay, but not for individuals? Why do you support progressive taxation for businesses, but not for individuals?
Well, because individuals, they earn their income, they should keep what they earn. But when it comes to corporations, they don't exactly create the same amount. They create a small number of jobs that as compared to small businesses. And as you've mentioned, small businesses, they do create more jobs than corporations. And because of that, I think there should be a progressive tax on business.
But the thing is, so a 10% flat tax, so for anyone that's, well, I want to take a look at the current U.S. tax code. Just give me a moment.
Oh, it's like 72,000 pages. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Just for income, just for income tax. Just for income tax. Brag. Okay, so.
Well, I mean, the federal income tax is different from. I mean, they're two different.
Okay, so a 10% flat tax would would mostly benefit. So pretty much that the richer you are, the bigger your tax break, and the poorer you are, the less the tax break. Why do you support something like that?
Well, you're asking me why I support a flat tax?
Well, yeah, because having a flat tax of 10%. That's pretty regressive because it's giving the biggest tax cut is going for more wealthy individuals, and for super poor people, you're not getting much. So just basically the gist is the more wealthy you are, the bigger your tax cut, and the poorer you are, the lower your tax cut.
Well, you receive the same benefits either way. Why would you pay more for?
No, what I'm saying is the tax cut mostly benefits the rich.
Not exactly. I mean, the top 10% is they don't. I mean, the top 1% that can be the top 10% that's considered rich, and I believe they earn. I think it's 150,000 per family. You can check on that, but
okay. So Jacob,
they don't exactly have to pay more for the same benefits. That's what I'm trying to get at.
What are you going to say? Political.
So Jacob, I want to ask you a question. You brought up that that having a flat tax rate of 10%, as Aaron had proposed. You said that that is logically flawed because it benefits the rich.
Mm-hmm.
So how exactly would a tax benefit making or favoring, let's say hypothetically, richer individuals be bad for society?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that why should you have a tax system that benefits people that are doing so well as opposed to people that are doing so poorly? I just don't think that makes any logical sense.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you can't exactly look. So people do,
and also to pay for these
who earn more than others. That is true, but that doesn't mean they have to pay more for one thing than another person just because they earn less.
Okay. Are there any final words on the subject from either of you?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. How would you pay for this tax cut? What public service are you going to cut?
Okay.
Public service. I mean, I think 24%.
Because they're not going to pay for themselves. They never did under Reagan or Bush.
No, I know. As I said, I want to cut a lot of government programs and a lot of government funding.
Like what? Are you going to privatize Medicare?
No, well, I don't want it to be universal, but it should be.
I mean, as it stands now.
Yeah, but so like 25% of the whole budget, it goes toward Medicare, that kind of stuff, and then 60%.
So how much are you going to cut it? Are you going to raise the retirement age, eliminate some benefits?
60% of it goes toward the military budget. That can be lowered.
So okay.
Well, not lowered completely. I mean, you don't want to lower it to a point where the world less.
So I kind of want to kind of venture back onto the topic of corporation taxes. So what ends up happening for a lot of corporations is that, since the tax code is so, I mean, can we agree that the tax code is a complete mess right now?
Not really.
Well, I mean, okay, for corporations, so what ends up happening is that they are actually taxed twice. So first, these corporations are taxed under the corporate income tax code when they produce the returns, and then when the corporation is moved when the returns from the corporation are moved from the corporation to the investor, they are taxed again as capital gains, dividends, and so forth.
Well, actually, a lot of wealthy individuals use capital gains as a way to pay less in income tax, and a lot of corporations, they end up finding loopholes to stop paying federal tax. And there's over, like, I believe over like $2 trillion of corporate profits that are stored overseas and offshore.
Yeah, so that's actually that was the question that I was going to get to. So what since these, because of these flaws in our tax system, what ends up happening is that corporations leave the United States and go find other we call them tax safe havens. A very popular one being Ireland. How do we what these very big corporations can do, when we take Apple for example, they paid I think like 0.00098%. I have it right here. They paid 0.005% in corporate taxes, which is equivalent to $50 for every $1 million they made. And so big corporations are able to sit down, find all these loopholes into making sure that they pay the least amount of taxes they can. Obviously we can agree that this is not okay. This is abusing the tax system. So what measures can we take, as a government, what measures can we take in enforcing that, into making sure that these businesses aren't abusing the tax code? I think Jacob, you spoke last. Aaron, we'll go with you.
Yeah. So I guess if you do lower the taxes for corporations, you would give them a reason to stay in the United States, because a lot of them do, like I said, they leave to other countries that are a safe haven for them when it comes to taxes. So lowering taxes for corporations would give them a reason to stay within the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jacob?
I really haven't thought much of getting corporate profits from overseas back to the U.S. or Canada or whatever to be taxed. I haven't really thought or looked into that much.
So let me restate.
I'm really not sure, but I know there was that some Democrats proposed a bill to be able to end up taxing those, but I'm not sure exactly how it works.
Taxing gains
taxing offshore profit.
Gotcha. Okay. So something that I want to address is that or a question that actually just popped in my head is not something that I thought of previously, but just to clarify, neither of you guys are in favor of a flat tax rate for corporations.
I mean, I haven't exactly thought too much about it, but just from what I think right now, there should be a higher tax for big corporations as compared to small businesses.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Okay, do you think that there should be an enforcement from the government? Let's say to say that, let's say, to make it easy, let's say, let's hypothetically say that there was a flat tax rate of, let's say, I don't know, like 23%. Let's say that there's a flat corporate tax rate of 23%, hypothetically, of course. Do you think that it would be wise to maybe set a tax bottom, in the sense that no business is exempt from taxation nor from paying less than maybe I don't know, for example, 20%, just as a model? Do you think that having a tax bottom is wise, and do you think those would stop the loopholes from happening? And do you think that the jobs would bring that having a tax floor would bring jobs back to the United States?
Oh, wait, what's a tax floor?
So like so let's say if a corporate let's say the corporate tax rate is a flat tax rate of 22%. Let's say that. Mm-hmm. just as a hypothetical. So a tax floor, establishing a tax floor, maybe let's say 20%, prevents governments prevents corporations from paying any less than 20%, because as we mentioned, Apple paid 0.005%. So do you think having a tax floor would prove beneficial to the United States in any way?
No. No, I don't really think that would work because it would overtax small businesses.
Gotcha.
That create the most amount of jobs.
Yeah, 23%. I think that seems a bit too much for small businesses.
Yeah.
Hold on. So, okay. So I do have a source pulled up right here. It's from the Small Business Association. But the small businesses are actually taxed right now at an effective rate of 26.9%. So does that change anything?
Well,
or I guess what is your take given that?
So if you completely, well, I guess in that sense, if you were to implement a 23% flat tax, then that would end up lowering taxes for small businesses. But I would prefer that the corporations just pay kind of what they're paying now, but the small businesses to pay
right.
less.
So basically, so what I was trying to say, I guess I mean I apologize if I wasn't clear for it. Is that so my idea, I guess, was for establishing maybe a tax floor, so making it so that no business is exempt from paying less than a certain percentage of tax. So given that, do you think that that would prove beneficial to the economy in any way?
Well, if it's lowering, well, that overall would lower the tax for small business. So in that way, yes, but to be able to, but that would cut off revenue, which that could be spent on things that stimulate the economy, such as infrastructure, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say,
and the thing is, a lot of these big corporations are already profitable, like Walmart and McDonald's. They make tons of profits. I don't see why they need to make any more.
Fair.
So,
I would have to say I didn't really think too much about that topic. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, given that, I think we've exhausted all the topics that
healthcare. We need to do healthcare.
Healthcare. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, in terms of healthcare, do you think that? So so Aaron, you spoke last. I'll address this question to Jacob. Jacob, do you think that having a universal? Do you think that health? Okay, let's start with a basic question. Do you think that healthcare should be a right?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Because so I personally believe no matter what your income is, you should be able to have high quality healthcare. I don't believe it's moral to let someone just out on the street die. I just don't believe it's moral at all.
And Aaron, your take?
Yeah. So, in a moral sense, you might be right, but you really have to look at how universal healthcare, how it really performs in major countries. For example, if you look at Canada, they have very long wait.
You always cherry pick Canada's wait times. Okay, I got something for you. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to give you an example. Yes, sorry, Canada does. Can I rebuttal?
Yeah, hold on. So
I don't think
a universal, a single payer system in the United States, and that's called the VA. And
okay, the VA is socialized medicine.
It's still paid for by.
Yes, but but the thing is, it is so completely socialized medicine. Canada is not. Our hospitals are private. Our physicians are private.
Yeah, you have private hospitals because of the ones that were.
All the hospitals
were completely government funded. They weren't performing as well. They're.
Well, I don't know much about that.
Very long. They weren't efficient. They were bureaucratic.
So the whole thing about the wait time is Canada does have long wait times, but they haven't always had. They used to have much lower ones. And so I'm going to give you a statistic here. So here's one from wait time to see a doctor. Waiting times for seeing a doctor when sick or needing medical attention. Here's from 2005. So yes, Canada is at the bottom, but the U.S. is still doing worse in the United Kingdom, Australia, Germany, and New Zealand.
In what way?
So here's for the same day, it looks like around 25% of the time in the US you can get a doctor same day. But in the United Kingdom, it looks like about 42, Australia like 44, Germany like 48. Well, no, not 48, but actually like that's over 50%. So
I just have 2 points for that. One, is that based on the 2005 citation? I just want clarification for the viewers.
Yeah, this comes from the Commonwealth Fund.
And you said that was from 2005?
Yeah, from 2005.
Okay. Second, based on that citation, maybe something that Aaron may want to refute about. Do you think that that's different in between countries because the proportion of the United States citizens?
Well, right. I mean, Canada has a smaller population than the state of California, so it would be. I mean, Canada's healthcare system isn't perfect exactly, but it would be a lot worse. It would be a lot worse in the United States if
How so?
the wait times would be longer, it would be less efficient.
UK has a larger population
because we already have a lot of
the UK has a larger population than Canada, and they have shorter wait times than even the US in many instances.
Many instances. What is your source?
Yep. Many come from the Commonwealth Fund. So here's one for us. So I have many from the Commonwealth Fund. So here's wait times for specialists appointment, less than 4 weeks. Less than 4 weeks. So 80% of the time in the UK, it's less than 4 weeks, as opposed to the US, which is 76% of the time it's less than 2 weeks. So there is a slight difference there, but still a difference. And then here's another thing from the Commonwealth Fund: wait times from so hospital waits over 4 hours. The UK only 4% of the time the waits are over 4 hours. In the US, it's 13% of the time.
Right, but are you comparing public health clinics, or are you comparing it to
the entire system, the overall system?
Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left, so we are going to kind of finish it up here. I believe that Jacob had the last word, so Aaron, I'm going to give you the last question, and this is just going to sum up the healthcare debate. What do you think going forward that Donald Trump or any politician, whether it be state or national, can do to help improve healthcare for all U.S. citizens?
For all U.S. citizens, I would say not make it universal. Trust in the private sector, because the private sector is more efficient than
government. Really? Can I rebuttal about that?
Well, let Aaron finish.
It kind of works like every type of insurance you have. Like the private sector is, as I said, it's a lot more efficient. If you want to refute that, I mean, I want to hear what you say.
Okay, so I don't. So here's the health. So this is from two. So before Obamacare, the U.S. was more so before, when Obamacare was made, the U.S. was more free market. Now I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, as in not entirely, still have Medicare and stuff, but the overall health. So here's the percentage of GDP spent on healthcare. The U.S. So this is from 2009. The U.S. spent 17.4 compared to all these different countries with universal healthcare. Canada was 11.4. The UK was 9.8, and they have universal systems. So I don't understand how you're saying a free market approach is more efficient.
That is due to the fact that Canada has a smaller population.
No, this is as a percentage of GDP. And I can also give you per capita.
Anything else to add on topic, either of you?
So per capita, the U.S. So this one's from 2013. Obviously, it's not entirely free market. Obviously, there's still a lot of public stuff in there, but still, the U.S. spends so per capita about over $800 $8,000 per capita healthcare cost, whereas Canada spends a little over 4,000. The UK over 3,000. So yeah. That's per capita, and then as a percent of GDP, it's still much higher. So that's accounting for that. And then there's also here health spending per person. This is from the OECD. A lot of these that I said were from Commonwealth. So this one's from OECD. So health spending per person in the US, it was $9,000 or over $9,000. In the UK, it was only $4,000. In Canada, it was a little like 4,600.
Right.
So I don't understand how a free market system would be more efficient.
Well, it would be more efficient because the free market is more. There's competition that goes around it, and because of competition, you increase. There already is. Well, maybe not as much now with Obamacare, because hasn't there been like private insurers like leaving Obamacare or whatever, or the exchange? Well, private insurers, the premiums are increasing because Obamacare forces people to.
Premiums have been increasing at about like the same rate since Obamacare was implemented.
You know what? We are running out of time really quickly, so
it hasn't really accelerated them.
So, Aaron, I don't think you got to finish your point. You can have the final word.
Yeah. So the premiums have increed because of Obamacare, and
really.
If they have,
I got something. Okay.
So as I said, the premiums are increasing, and if the healthcare system, if we go for universal healthcare, if we just make it all government fund, and it starts failing, and the wait times become far too long, the private sector would be way too expensive for people to afford it.
That's not happening in the United Kingdom at all. It's not happening in Australia. Like Canada, the wait times have been increasing over the years, but there's a simple solution to that.
Okay. Jacob, final word? Final word on the topic?
So, okay, in the case of the U.S., I would support Medicare for all.
Aaron, any final words?
Medicare as it. Oh, can I just add on to that?
A lot of Canadians, they go to the United States to get treatment.
That's not true. Only 2015, only 1% of patients did that.
All right, let's let Jacob finish.
And that study didn't specify what country. It just said, 40,000 Canadians went to another country to get healthcare, never specify what country, and it was only 1% of all patients.
Yeah, we're running low on time. So Aaron, you can have the final word. Please let him finish.
Right. So
sorry.
As I've said, universal healthcare just wouldn't work in the United States. The VA being a prime example of it.
What about Medicare? Everyone loves it. It has like it's over a 70% improvement rating.
Okay.
Please let Aaron finish.
Sorry, I can't help myself. Okay, I'll sit my mouth this time. I'll literally mute my mic.
VA is a prime example of universal healthcare failing. Their wait times are long. A lot of veterans actually die from the wait, and overall, if you do put trust in the free market, that would increase competition and it would increase efficiency. It would lower the cost of health insurance, and just in case you don't get covered, I mean, you can always sue the company, and the money that you get from that you can use for your treatment. That's how the free market would help out with. My point is it would be a lot more efficient, and
okay.
The history of the American healthcare system is never more efficient than a country with universal healthcare.
That's all we have time for, gentlemen.
So are you gonna rate who won?
We're gonna check in with the rest of the members that are involved in this crew, and then we will get back to you. How
many members are there?
3.
Okay.
So, just overall, I want to thank you all for joining me, and when it's been, I'd consider a successful first debate.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys had fun. I know I did. It was fun to hear both sides of the argument.
I wish it didn't take 2 hours.
It was a long debate. I apologize. But I thank you guys for joining me. If you guys do want, I will give both of you guys a 30-second plug to shamelessly advertise your page or anything else you wish. So, Jacob, the floor is yours.
All right, so guys, come follow Canada Against Trump. Just your typical Canadian that doesn't like Trump then likes American politics. So yeah, lots of memes and stuff, statistics, polls, yada yada yada. So yeah, anti-Trump stuff. So
all right, follow me. I post a lot of memes.
Yeah, and not sometimes the propaganda. Follow him. He doesn't post like propaganda memes like the typical liberal and Kennedy.
I mean, I sometimes come up with clever captions, and yeah, I guess check back for new posts.
Yeah, I mean, for everybody watching, both of them running extremely, well organized and really great pages. I personally like both of them. So please, don't forget to check them out. I'll leave them a follow. And everybody, thank you for joining me. I think think we capped at around like 11 or 12 viewers, which is just nice for a first debate, I suppose.
Pretty good. How many viewers are viewing right now?
3. a lot of them did leave, but you know,
the 3 are just 3 of us from the call.
Oh, it might be.
How many of you have it open? I don't.
I have it open.
Oh, great. So you're one of the 2.
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, John left.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, yeah. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Like eventually, I'd love to have you guys again.
If only we can.
Yeah, and I should really start preparing more statistics because I gotta admit Jacob did have more facts to back up.
Aha, yes.
I mean, no, it's the truth. Anybody watching would.
Yeah, I definitely think I was kind of I swear I didn't even use like half of my facts because we kind of ended up discussing too much immigration. Like I have like 22 slides on.
Didn't we spend like an hour on immigration?
Yeah, we spent like an hour on immigration.
Yeah,
so I have so many facts on healthcare, and I only said like 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
So and like on immigration, I had hardly anything. I had like a couple. So.
Yeah, I mean, all right, we'll try better in the future to move on to topics and try to cover everything. But just in general, thank you guys for joining me once again. You guys have a great night. Again, everybody don't forget to check out their pages. That'll all be in the Instagram bio. Other than that, that's all I have to say. You guys have any closing remarks?
What should I say? Something that's good. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the debate, and I would be flattered, or what word should I use? I don't know. I would love to come back on here and debate someone else, even Aaron or whatever your name is again. Yeah, I'll debate you again. I'll debate anyone. Anyone. I'd be happy to participate in this debate again.
Yeah, I mean, it was my pleasure to have you guys on here. And it definitely, was a learning experience for me in terms of just, how I need to run this. And,
I think you really moderated this really well, I gotta say. It's
yeah, I mean, yeah, I do apologize. It's something that is, on my end about, not moving through topics quicker. I think we were kind of, like you guys mentioned, on a stalemate of a few topics. And we weren't really going anywhere with the debate. So I will, I will work on that. I'll reflect on it and try to get better at that.
You should have set times for certain topics, like say 15 minutes for one, and
yeah, something
that'd be a lot better, more efficient.
Something that I was, considering was maybe like speaking times, but I didn't want to go through that whole process. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how that would
Well,
work.
you could have went through the process without live streaming. Just tell the people that are in the debate and then go live, so the audience doesn't have to listen to it.
Well, no, I mean just in terms of like enforcing it. I don't know. I thought that I don't know. Maybe something over this would be kind of inconvenient, but that is something we could try. Well, I mean, there's nothing else. Thank you guys for joining me. It was a pleasure to have you guys on. If you guys have any questions or feedback, we really greatly appreciated. And I think on that note, we'll end the live stream. Good night, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Right.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.